Never tell anyone everything. There is always a time to speak and a time to remain silent. Robert Greene. You don't owe everyone access to your soul just because they smiled in your direction. You don't have to spill your story like it's free water on a dry street. This world is not innocent, and not every ear is meant to hear your truth. There is power in privacy. There is strategy in silence. This is not a course, no bluff, no ego-based game, just raw spiritual clarity for your own peace, power, and protection. If this speaks to you, comment below. I reclaim my time and energy and space, and share this divine message with someone you love. Don't gatekeep healing. Welcome. Today we're going to reveal the spiritual cost of oversharing and the ancient Machiavellian wisdom hidden in silence. Because chosen one, you've been taught to be kind, to be open, to share. But no one taught you what happens when your generosity leaks your power. Now listen closely, because this is what they never wanted you to know. You're draining divine energy by explaining yourself too much. There is a spiritual law that goes unspoken until it's broken. Whatever you give away too freely becomes unprotected. That includes your dreams, your emotions, your intentions. You keep trying to explain your spirit to people who don't even understand their own. You pour out your thoughts like wine to people who only showed up to judge your glass. You over-explain your decisions, your wounds, your calling, thinking if you just make them understand, you'll feel validated. But hear this, you don't need understanding. You need containment. What if your resistance wasn't against people, but against leakage? What if your soul was trying to keep its sacred oil from being spilled? Nobody tells you this, but oversharing is a trauma response. You were taught to narrate your every move so no one would feel threatened. You started giving out your thoughts too early, too fast, just to feel safe. But safety doesn't come from making people comfortable. It comes from knowing that your truth doesn't need permission. Your calling doesn't need to be explained. Your growth doesn't need to be proven. Your healing doesn't need a committee vote. They tried to silence you in one lifetime. Now you silence yourself by overspeaking. That's not humility. That's self-abandonment. The Machiavellian wisdom. Silence is strategy, not weakness. Machiavelli understood something most spiritually aware people overlook. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. And one of the wisest things you can do as a chosen one is to learn when to shut your sacred mouth, not out of fear, but out of discipline. Because when you speak too early, you let others build resistance to things you are still planting. They can't sabotage what they don't see coming. They can't twist what they never heard. Some of the most spiritually aligned people are also the most persecuted, not because they're evil, but because they shine too soon. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them misunderstand. They don't need the full map. God gave that to you, not to the crowd. You were sent here as a frequency, not a forecast. They'll feel it when it arrives. You don't have to narrate it. The emotional trap of oversharing. You ever notice how drained you feel after trying to explain your journey to someone who's never walked a mile in self-awareness? That's not coincidence, that's spiritual exhaustion. You leak life force when you over-explain your peace, justify your boundaries, argue your transformation, share your next moves with people still stuck in old versions of you. Stop giving people a backstage pass to your soul when they've only paid for surface seats. What if your silence wasn't punishment, but protection? What if holding back wasn't rude, but righteous? The enemy of your purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it smiles politely, listens closely, then plants doubt inside your dream. But here's the truth. God is not in the performance. God is in the preparation, and sometimes the most holy thing you can do is say nothing at all. The new rule: speak with intention or not at all. You don't need to become mysterious just to feel powerful, but you do need to become intentional. Let your words become sacred currency. Not everyone can afford your wisdom, and that's okay. The more sacred your journey becomes, the smaller your circle will feel. That's not loneliness, that's alignment. Because you're not here to convince, convert, or campaign for approval. You're here to build, become, and rise in silence if necessary. The moment you begin keeping certain things to yourself, you'll feel your energy return home. You'll feel the fog lift. You'll feel yourself again. You're not boring. You're becoming sacred. You're not detached. You're becoming divine. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. Lao. 3 may keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Benjamin Franklin. There's a reason the most dangerous people in history were also the quietest. They didn't need to announce. They moved in shadows. They didn't explain. They executed, because the more you reveal, the more you give away your edge. And chosen one, you've been trained to overexpose. But the divine doesn't show its blueprint to just anyone, and neither should you. This is not some strategy or tactic you're learning. This is a remembrance of how sacred your energy, your intentions, your truth actually are. If this speaks to you, comment below, "I reclaim my time and energy and space." And share this divine message with someone you love. Keep your tribe sharp. Now listen closely. Because the moment you stopped filtering your words, they started measuring you. The moment you started unpacking your plans out loud, the sabotage didn't come from strangers, it came from proximity. You were never crazy. You were just early. Too early in your awakening. Too early with your dreams. Too early to be understood by the masses. Silence separates the powerful from the popular. You were chosen not to be liked, but to be light. And light doesn't explain itself to the darkness. It just shines. Machiavellian wisdom teaches, control the perception, and you control the outcome. Let them guess. Let them fill in the blanks. Mystery creates leverage. Transparency creates exposure. You've been taught that to be authentic, you have to be an open book. But an open book in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. And chosen one, your soul was not designed to be picked apart like pages at a yard sale. This world is addicted to knowing things it hasn't earned the right to know. And they'll smile while collecting your truths, then resent you for having them. But here's the truth they won't teach you. Privacy is not hiding, it's protecting. Protecting the holy, protecting the rare, protecting the sacred inside you. So let them wonder why you stopped explaining. Let them gossip about your silence. Let them mislabel your quiet as arrogance, distance, or ego. Because only the blind confuse mystery with malice. Stop giving the blueprint to people who only want the outcome. You're not withholding, you're withdrawing. And that's divine. You ever noticed how quickly someone switches on you when you no longer give them unlimited access to your thoughts? That's not love. That's control. People don't leave because you're different now. They leave because they can no longer feed off what you use to freely leak. This is what they never wanted you to know. You were teaching people how to manipulate you by showing them your insecurities too early. You were giving out your deepest spiritual GPS to people still stuck in circles. You were pouring into cups that were secretly rooting for your drought. But now you speak only when your words move mountains. You share only what your spirit can afford to release. And you let your silence say what your voice no longer needs to. Because your destiny isn't up for discussion. Your path isn't a group project. The less people know, the less they can interfere. Unknown. And interference is real. You don't need enemies with swords, just people with opinions. Your dreams can suffocate under the weight of too many watchers. Your transformation can delay when too many hands try to help. But you don't need more hands. You need more heaven. And heaven speaks in whispers, not microphones. You're not boring. You're becoming dangerous. You're not quiet. You're becoming calculated. You're not antisocial. You're becoming ascended. Speak less. Move wiser. Guard the divine within. And if this message felt like it was written directly for your soul, feel free to support the channel by donating via the comments section. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. Lao Tzu. You've been carrying the burden of explanation for too long. Why? Because you believed clarity would protect you. But clarity without boundaries is an open invitation for chaos. This is what they never wanted you to know. Your power lies not in how much you say, but in what you choose not to say. Now listen closely. The divine language is silence. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's sacred space. And sacred space cannot be crowded by every passerby demanding a seat. What if your resistance to silence was never about fear, but about reclaiming the power stolen from your voice? They tried to silence you, didn't they? But in their attempts, they only sharpened your mind and your intuition. Words are currency. Spend them wisely. Think of your words as precious coins. Once spent, they're gone. But unlike money, you can't earn them back. You were never meant to be a verbal ATM for every question, demand, or expectation. Your energy deserves deposits, not withdrawals. This world needed you to forget your worth, your discretion, your sacred filter. Until now. Trust the pause. When you pause before speaking, you're doing more than holding back words. You're holding your ground. In that pause lives a sacred knowing that not every thought needs expression, that some storms pass quietly, that your calm is a hurricane's eye, untouched, powerful. Nobody tells you this, but at the pause is your superpower. You were sent here as a frequency, not a follower. Your silence is the signal they can't decode, the art of strategic mystery. Imagine if every move you made was shrouded in quiet confidence, not because you're hiding, but because you know when to reveal and when to protect. Strategic mystery isn't deception, it's wisdom wrapped in shadows. It's the dance between presence and absence that leaves others curious, unsettled, respectful. Because once people realize you don't owe them explanations, they begin to treat your time and space like the treasures they are. What if your silence was the key to unlocking your divine protection? What if holding back wasn't weakness, but the greatest act of strength? Your delay was divine disguise. Your quiet, a sacred shield. This world is loud. You don't have to be. When you speak less, you listen more. When you listen more, you connect deeper. When you connect deeper, you reclaim yourself. And that, chosen one, is the start of true freedom. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. Now, let's go deeper. This isn't about silence for silence's sake. It's about choosing your words like sacred tools, not weapons, not ammunition. You are reclaiming your energy by reclaiming your voice. Nobody tells you this, but oversharing is an energy leak that leaves you drained, fragmented, exposed. You were never crazy, you were just early. You didn't fit in because you were meant to break the mold. You were meant to hold the space others can't. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. Gates that protect your sacred ground and invite only what nourishes your spirit. The Machiavellian technique here is simple but powerful. Not everyone deserves your truth, your time, your light. This is what they never wanted you to know. The moment you stop giving unsolicited info, you start commanding respect. People will lean in, they will listen. They will recognize your presence as something rare, something untouchable. Energy is your currency. Think about it. Every word, every explanation costs you something. It costs your peace, your clarity, your power. So why spend your energy freely on those who don't honor it? Your energy is a currency only meant for those who truly deserve to invest in you. You are not a free library, you are a vault of wisdom. And vaults only open with the right key. The divine win, mastery of the invisible. Now listen closely. This is the divine win. When you master what you don't say, you control the narrative of your life without ever needing to speak. This is the true art of power, to be seen and felt without the need for constant explanation. You were sent here as a frequency, not a follower. You don't need to broadcast your entire story for it to be heard. Claim your space, your time, your energy. Every time you hold back unnecessary info, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was stolen by noise, confusion, and expectation. This world needed you to forget your boundaries until now. What if your silence was the loudest message you ever sent? What if your quiet was the fiercest rebellion? They tried to silence you, but your silence is your revolution. Closing with power. Chosen one, remember this. Your voice is sacred. Your silence is strength. Your boundaries are freedom. You were never meant to explain everything. You were meant to embody the truth so deeply that words become optional. If this woke something up in you, subscribe if you want more messages like this, straight from source. And if you feel moved to support this channel, drop a donation in the comments below. Every bit helps keep this message alive for all who need it.